Welcome back. Or welcome. I mean, if this is the first video you're jumping into, hey, welcome. ah, it's still another amazing day in paradise. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I just want to take a moment to explain this next one. This is my reason number 7. And reason number 7 for you to write my name as your preferred candidate for the next mayor of Raleigh. Yeah! I think that's it. I may not remember it, but I think that's it. Anyway, reason number 7, I'm leading as a mom, a matriarch, and a mayor with compassion and neuroscience. As a mom, that means I'm in there, right? I'm the nurturer. I'm the teacher. I'm the awakener. You know, I love that. I'm not a teacher. There's a quote that says, I'm not a teacher, I'm an awakener. I don't know who said it, but credit to whoever wrote it. I'm an awakener. I help to enlighten. I'm a trained parent coach whose foundation is brain development, nervous system regulation, trauma, and nutrition. And that is the essence of neuroscience, okay? That's, for me, that's what neuroscience speaks to. But as a mom, as a mayor, it means I have some organizational skills, right? Matriarchs, they're the rulers, right? When you talk about a matriarchal society, it means they're the ones that are leading. And so I am a matriarch. I'm a matriarch in our community in several different ways because I'm present, for one thing. I'm present. People see me. People know me. And as a mayor, I have the ability to think as a city leader. I've been to all areas of the city. I don't just stay in one area because we have a vehicle. We drive, we see, I see all sorts of things all over the place. And so I'm leading as a mom, a matriarch, and mayor with compassion and neuroscience. Now, compassion by definition means having this sense of empathy towards somebody who is going through a challenging situation, coupled with a strong desire to alleviate that suffering. Now, the first part is not necessarily word for word, but the second half is, and that comes from dictionary.com. Shout out to them. And I looked up this word compassion because when Mia and Wisdom, that's the name of my young black male superhero, if you don't know, I don't think I've mentioned that yet. In our first shelter experience, we were in a church and God led me to do an intimate study of the parable of what people call the Good Samaritan. I happen to call it the parable of the exceptional Samaritan. And in that parable, in Luke 10, for those of you that don't know, it's found in the Bible, that there's this man who is a Samaritan. He helps this man who is who is on the ground and obviously very hurt. And it says that the one line that describes his behavior is, and the Samaritan had compassion. And I realized I didn't know what that meant. So when I say an intimate study, that means I studied with Google and God. So whatever I wasn't getting from spirit, then I looked it up on Google. I didn't know what compassion meant by definition. You know, I'd heard it lots of times, but I really realized I didn't know what it meant. And so when I looked it up, that's the definition that came. And I was like, wait, what? I always thought compassion was synonymous with empathy. But really, empathy is only one part of the equation when you have compassion. I was like, what? Like, it totally threw me off because all these organizations say they have compassion. But compassion is this sense of empathy for somebody who's going through a challenging situation, coupled with a strong desire to alleviate the suffering. But let me help you understand something about that. Having a strong desire to alleviate the suffering does not mean you give people what you want them to have to alleviate their suffering. It means the next step beyond compassion is mercy. And it's the mercy wanted and the mercy needed. And we do not have that. We don't have that in great capacity. When people use the word compassion, it usually is, I'm going to give you the mercy that I have to offer you, which in the end is not mercy. It's not mercy at all. In fact, it's another form of oppression, if you ask me. And so genuine compassion, as you can see, I'm very passionate about this. From what I went through, I'm being triggered. You can see it. So let me take a breath. Because this is far too important to be like, to portray it in a negative way, because compassion is such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing when it's done genuinely, right? So when you understand compassion, you understand that there's a need that somebody is expressing, or maybe not even expressing, but you're aware that there's a need, and it's a strong desire to alleviate the suffering that people are having from that need. And that could be housing. It could even be, with a protest, just being acknowledged. There's so many different things. In neuroscience, I kind of spoke to that when I said brain development, nervous system regulation, trauma, and nutrition. And this is kind of a big topic that I hope I'm going to help people, I'm going to break down. So when I was saying I was getting triggered, it meant that my nervous system was about to go offline, was starting to go offline. And it wasn't tapping into my brain to remain in a state of rest and digest. Those are the easy ways to explain it. And when I'm not in a state of rest and digest, I can't tap into this area of my brain that's called the prefrontal cortex, which is what houses or creates my executive function of thinking. That's reasoning, that's the ability to remain calm, right? And to tap into my intellect. When I'm severely triggered, that completely goes offline. I start living in what they call your primitive brain. And I just live out of my fight, flight, freeze, or please response. That's the way, some of the words that I've learned to use to describe it. And so the reason why those things happen, the reason why people get triggered, it's a subconscious triggering. And it's because there's a sense that your safety is being compromised, right? And that could be real or perceived. Now, what about me talking about compassion? Could make me feel I was unsafe, right? Well, it wasn't necessarily that I was unsafe. It was that my brain was recalling all those moments when I needed something and I was asking for it and people weren't acknowledging it or giving it to me. And that was what was being triggered because I wasn't safe in those experiences. And so that's what was coming up for me. And so by understanding that when people come at you in a certain kind of way, that there's a need that needs to be met, and they may not even be expressing the genuine need. Sometimes you really need to actually go upstream to find out what that need is. Like when I'm talking about when I mentioned those people who don't like me, and I said, I recognize it's because they couldn't control me, like that was their real need. Their real need was to control me. And because I was not meeting that need for them, because their nervous system was triggered and they didn't know how to communicate that to me, then whatever happened, it happened and they don't like me. And again, I'm okay with that because I understand their perspective. They just don't have the capacity to understand that about themselves, and I can't force that on them. It is what it is. And so this is the main reason why you should write my name in as your preferred candidate for mayor of Raleigh, because this is too important to have so many people coming to a public comment session and either shutting them down or going from 3 minutes to 1 minute and telling them that their voices aren't important, or to just sit there and listen and not say anything, not have a discourse in order for people to have their needs met. And sometimes people just need to be heard. And so this is extremely important to me. extremely important to me that we have the capacity to say, I hear your need. Tell me what I can do about it. And so we saw this, and shout out to Jane Harrison, Councilwoman Jane Harrison. We saw this with the amount of times that our legacy community members, what I'm going to call her, a legend, Octavia Rainey, kept talking about the Fourth Ward and the work that she did for the Fourth Ward to finally have a week of being honored. And it was awesome. It was so awesome. And so it's people like that, like Councilwoman Jane Harrison, just hearing that need, and then taking Miss Rainey and putting her in the places and connecting her with the people that could help her and expand on the vision and meet that need of saying, Fourth Ward was here and it should be recognized. And so shout out to Councilwoman Harrison. She understands. And so that's what we need at the head of our city council, is somebody who leads with compassion and neuroscience. Now, if you made it through this video, thank you so much, because I know it's been longer than the other ones. But hopefully, like I said, you sped it up and got the essence of it, even if you didn't get in a real time. So thank you so much. Stay tuned. There's more content to come. I've got about 3 more left.